Good morning, good no. It is Gratitude Shift Wednesday. Good morning. It's Gratitude Shift Wednesday. And today we're talking about habits, you guys. When your habits lie. When your habits lie to you. So, how are you doing this morning? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome back to Life Lessons. Today we're talking about, again, the lies your habits tell, okay? We're on Wednesday. We're talking about patterns and paradigms. And I want you to know that not all habits are helpful. All right. Some are rehearsals for staying small. All right. And that's going to be our conversation on this morning. Listen, um, you're not lazy. You're not scattered, right? And you're not broken. You might just be stuck, right, in some habits that once protected you. And again, I'm gonna remind you this every week, right? But now they're just preventing you from your progress. So in today's life lesson, we're really turning shame into strategy, this judgment, right, into strategy. Instead of judging these habits, what if we just listen to them, right? Because these habits are communicating to us, right? So what if scrolling is how you avoid emotional overwhelm, right? Scrolling on social media, you start to feel emotional, you grab your phone, you start scrolling, right? What if busyness is the armor against vulnerability? All right. So I'm staying busy so I don't have to be vulnerable, right? And what if people pleasing was a script you learned to stay safe, right? I've talked about how people pleasing is a coping mechanism, right? It's this coping mechanism that really helps us to not feel the rejection. Okay. So what if people pleasing is a script you learn to stay safe? It's not about blame. All right. It's not about blaming on this morning. It's really about awareness, right? Bringing awareness to these mental blocks, these emotional blocks, right? That's really keeping us stuck. Okay. Um, Again, a big thing about this project is really just to bring this awareness and not judge. Because once you name a pattern, guess what? You can break it. Once you become aware of a pattern, you have the power to break it, right? And gratitude, right? It helps, right? It helps you to um with what protected you and release what's no longer serving you. All right. And so it's Gratitude Shift Wednesday. And I want you to ask yourself, what is one habit that you've judged yourself for and um you now realize it was a form of self-protection? What is that one habit that you judge yourself for, but you now realize it was a form of self-protection? All right. All right. Um, you know, I think that one of the habits that I had, or maybe I still have, is I would say my relationship with time is a habit, right? And I do think it serves as a self-protection for me. I think it started off as a self-protection, but then I think that at the end of it, it ended up being the thing that blocks me, and which is why I'm building a different relationship with it. But I think in the beginning, it served as an excuse, right? So I want you to think about, I think it served as a reason why, right? So when I was in college, or, had my boys, I could blame like just not having this time to do stuff, right? And it protected me in a way. I mean, I'm saying that now, but it really did. Like if I showed up late, it was like, oh, I just didn't have enough time, right? And then that narrative got stuck. And then when I wanted to break that relationship, right, and build a different relationship with time, it became very difficult, right? Because it's a habit, right? And so it's about being very intentional. So I want you to drop it in the chat, right? Again, let's just shift to self-understanding and not shame on this morning. So good morning, good morning. It is Gratitude Shift Wednesday, and we're talking about the lies that your habits tell. Okay. Again, not all habits are helpful. Some are rehearsed, right? Rehearsals for keeping you small, for staying small. And again, my timing, right, was a way of me staying small. I could blame it on time, but really it was this excuse that I was using because I know I really wasn't showing up all the way. I had wrote this book. It's called The Dream That Broke Me Down to Stand Me Up. And in that book, I talk about knowing that I was like this A student in life, or knowing how I could be this A, but truly just settling on a B. right? Settling on a B because it wasn't a lot expected of me, right? And one of those things were time. So I want you to be honest with yourself this morning as I get this disclaimer. Why am I doing this session? To really help you to recognize, right, that habits are not flaws, but they're flags. Again, this whole project is to really change a lot of the language, right, that you've been using. These flags are signals for emotional wounds. They're survival strategies, and their deeply embedded beliefs. Okay. Gratitude is a tool, though, that you can use to really honor what's protecting you, right? And then release it, right? And release what's limiting you. Okay. So we can give it gratitude. We can give it that. One of the things that's coming up in my spirit, if you ever took karate or something like that, it'll tell you to lean in, right? To push in, into a person. If you're like fighting or anything, like you're going to give them, you're going to give your energy to them, you're going to give your force to them, right, to really throw them off balance. And I think that's what gratitude does, right? In this energetic emotional way, it's kind of like you're giving that, right? I'm so grateful that that happened to me, right? So that you can lose it, if you also think about the Chinese, you remember those like Chinese handcuffs, right? They used to, like, the more you pull, the more you resist, the more they stay stuck, right? But when you give in, when you kind of push in, they loosen up. See, that's what gratitude actually does, right? So when we can give thankfulness, and we can give energy and, quote unquote positive emotions to a thing, and just allow it and not resist it, right? We can release it, right? And a lot of us are like these Chinese handcuffs, right? We're resisting, right? We're wishing that that never happened to us. We are we're wishing it never happened, which is a form of resistance, and we're staying stuck in these patterns and in these habits. All right. So the disclaimer for this morning is this session is not about blaming yourself for your habits, right? A lot of our habits have been passed down to us. So we don't have to blame ourselves for either catching it, right? For causing it or catching it, right? So you either got caught it or you got taught it, okay? Right. So this session is not about blaming yourself for these habits. It's about really becoming conscious of them, though. All right. So many of us are walking around unconscious, like just not aware. We're allowing autopilot to run our life. All right. So we want to become conscious of them. Listen, true empowerment happens when you bring compassion to the parts of us that coped the best way it could, right? The parts of you that really coped the best way it could, and then now choose a different road. Yesterday I talked about the GPS, right? Your mind is a GPS, and it is routing you, right? It is routing you for the fastest, most safe route to what? Safety, right? Not to success, not to the love of your life, not to your dreams, goals, and ambitions, but to safety. All right. And what is the safest place for you? The thing that you always done, the thing you know best, right? And so it's routing you. And like I gave that example, when you go off script, when you go left, and the GPS is telling you, GPS of your mind is telling you to go right, right? Your mind is saying, hey, reroute. What you doing? Why are you doing that? No, red flag, green, like the no, right? Because your nervous system doesn't feel safe. And so a big part of changing the language, giving gratitude, having compassion, right, is to really like get the nervous system to not feel right so nervous about this change. It's like this gentle way of, what came up in my spirit is manipulating your mind, right? Okay, so good morning. It is Wednesday, Gratitude Shift Wednesday. So let's take our deep breath on this morning. Right. This is your time. No pressure, just your presence. Right. I want to welcome you back to Life Lessons with Dr. Sheila Little. I am Dr. Sheila Little. If you're new here, I'm a licensed master social worker. I've been a licensed master social worker for 20 years. Okay. All right. Life Lesson is a part of the Project Life initiative. Project Life is where we turn theory into practice. And I want to tell you that I'm also the creator of the Stop It Now method. And that's what we use every week, right? As we're going through these life lessons, we're actually using the Stop It framework to really break down these conversations. All right. So drop a word in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling this morning. And if you want to challenge yourself, listen, drop one word in the chat, right, that describes your current emotional patterns. Right. Right. What habits feel heavy for you today? If you want to get deeper, what habits feel heavy for you today? All right. Let's scan our bodies on this morning, right? So just bringing some compassion into our bodies, feeling your feet on the floor, right? A big part of working with this nervous system in this project is to feel our bodies and become aware. So let's scan our feet, put our feet on the floor, feel them on the floor, feel them in our shoes, feel them in our socks, wiggle our toes, right? Come up our legs, all right? Come up the legs, feel your butts in the seat if you're at work, right? If you're in the bed, just kind of shaking your legs, wiggling your legs, right? Up your spine, right? Feeling all of those nerves, bringing some gratitude and thanksgiving to those nerves. All right. All right. Yeah, down our shoulders, right? Allowing the weight to really come off our shoulders, activating our hands, right? Down our arms and our hands, making sure we're bringing some attention to our intestines and every organ in our body, right? Coming up to our heart, feeling our heart. Remember, this week we're just popping. Let's like letting it pop a little bit, releasing, right? Whatever is not serving us on today. All right, up our necks, feeling our jaws release, right? Our mouth, our nose, and our eyes, right? Softening the space around our ears so we can hear a little softer on this morning. All right, in the top of our head, which is known as your crown chakra, right? And if you want to do this little kind of visible thing, right? Imagine like a little rain falling on you, right? Just kind of like cleansing you off, right? Just kind of you feeling all the way, just kind of drop to the floor as if you're being rinsed off on this morning, right? And bringing attention to the biggest organ of your body, your skin. Thank you so much, skin. All right. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Who is this session for on this morning? See, this session is for you. If you feel stuck in the cycles of like procrastination, avoidance, overcommitment, and you're ready to really understand what those patterns are trying to protect, remember this week we're talking about the end and unlock your potential. All right. And I think that it's important to notice your patterns, right? So that is what the N stands for. And right, to stop numbing ourselves. All right, because your body is trying to communicate to you. All right. And so today we're talking about these patterns, and we're going to hit on some paradigms. And remember, paradigms are what? The lens that we see life through. All right. The lens that we see life through. And there are different paradigms that we see life through. And if you want to shift your paradigm, you can always join that my emotional intelligence course that really helps you to shift from a victim or duty lens to achievement and integrity. All right. So good morning. Good morning. Listen, our powerful quote for this morning is your habits are not who you are. They who you had to be to what? To stay safe. Your habits are not who you are. They're who you had to be to stay safe. Listen, you have created these habits to stay safe, right? But we know that first we make our habits, then our habits make us. So these habits that made us safe, that was once safe before, they're just not serving. They're just not serving the current you. Maybe you needed those habits for your previous relationship or your previous job or the environment that you lived in. And now that has changed, right? Something has shifted in you. Something has moved in you and you want to shift and change, right? And these habits are really stopping you from being able to do that. All right. So this session is truly about decoding your habits with curiosity, right? Not condemnation, not judgment. All right. All right. Many of us, many of the behaviors we repeat, like mindless strolling, emotional snacking, constantly staying busy, aren't character flaws, you guys. They're signals. Again, they're signals, survival strategies, often rooted from past pain, right? And these patterns were developed to what? To cope and to protect and to numb. But now, right, they are what? Keeping you from expanding. And we already know that there is a fear that a lot of us have around expanding. All right, I just want to move my camera. Hopefully, if I move it, it don't. Okay, so why gratitude matters. Okay, gratitude doesn't mean tolerating what's harmful, okay, or stagnant. It really means recognizing that your habits served you once, all right, and now you get to outgrow them. All right. This is where gratitude becomes the gateway because gratitude, right, for what got you through is so important, right? And gratitude for the awareness that you have now is so important, and gratitude as a fuel for and using gratitude as a fuel for aligned transformation is so important. All right. I always talk about, I don't know if I've shared this journey of the apple seed here. But if you think about the apple, a lot of people want the apple, right? You want the thing, you want the happiness, you want the job, you want whatever it is. But that apple seed has to go on a journey. And we first have to remember that in this apple seed, the apple seed has everything that it needs to what? To become the apple, right? So in that way, it's kind of like faith, right? Like, you know how you ever heard manifestation, believing that it's already real? Well, that's not really woo-woo because in every seed is already in it everything that it needs to become, right? So if you see a little apple seed, you're not doubting that that seed will become an apple tree and bear apples, are you? No, you're not. Because you know it's in the seed. And so, just like us, we need to know that the seeds that we plant, the thing that we desire is in there once we allow it to what? Go through the journey. All right. So when you plant this apple seed, its first stages is roots, right? It's going to take root. All right. And that's going to be a downward cycle. So it's going to go down first, right? Embed itself into the ground, into the soil before it shoots up. Okay. Then the next stage is that it has to expose itself to the environment. All right. To the animals. If it made its way through the worms and all that stuff, eating it up, in the trenches, right now it got to expose itself to a whole different environment, the sun, the rain, the clouds, the environment. All right. When it does that, then it has to preserve or be resilient enough to turn into a trunk, a tree trunk. And guess what? That tree trunk don't look nothing like the roots. All right. But mind you, these stages were already in the apple before. Right? Right? It was this was already intended that this seed was going to take root and it had to go down first, and it was going to be bothered by the worms and all of that stuff. And that the second stage was that it was going to shoot up and it was going to be exposed to what? The sun, the rain, the moon. I mean, the sun, right? Yeah, the moon, the animals, right? All of that. And then it becomes the trunk. All right. And then something happens, and I'm talking about in this gestational timing where you get branches. So the trunk stops growing, right? And you get these little branches, which is what? Smaller trunks, right? And then something miraculous happens. Actually, it's a chemical response, right? But you get smaller branches on those branches, and then you get leaves, right? And these leaves don't look nothing like the smaller branches of the smaller branches of the of the trunk, right? They don't look nothing like wood. They're green and they're soft. Okay. But guess what? That process of these leaves becoming was already in the gestational pattern of this journey of this apple seed. And then you get a little flower, and then guess what? At the end, you get the apple. All right. So that thing that you want, right? The thing that you're dying for, the thing you're praying for, the thing that you feel like will never come. One, if you planted the seed, then that's faith and knowing that in the seed is going to come. So I can know that in my heart, right? And then I also need to realize that there are stages that I'm going to go through or stages that this thing is going to go through. And I'm saying this to say that in each one of those stages, I can give a gratitude because that apple needed the roots. So even though the worms was eating it up, and even though it probably was difficult in that dirt, right? It's look, I'm grateful for the roots because the roots is what brung what? The trunk. And even though this trunk, right, animals climbing on me, all of this stuff is happening in this with this trunk, right? I need to be grateful for that stage. All right. Right. And then, right, in the process, right, Erica, in the process and the exposed to the environment was necessary. Absolutely. right? It was necessary. Why? To strengthen it, to help with that resilient part. And sometimes when we're going from roots to trunk, guess what? We are dreading being as if we don't realize that we're going to be exposed to the elements of the earth, right? And what are those elements? People, places, things, situations, circumstances, and environments. All right. And we want to hide. We don't want that, or we want what? Nature to adjust to us emotionally. And nature is not. But guess what? No matter what, that apple understands that it's going to bear a fruit, right? It's going to bear an apple when it goes through this process. And so I love this story of the journey of the apple seed. Again, God just downloaded this to me one time because I just feel like, one, we need to be grateful for each stage in our life. And guess what? There's going to be a stage where you turn, guess what? From a trunk to a leaf, where something in you is just going to make a radical change. And this is what this project is for, because that is a point in your life where you are going to change from a trunk to a leaf. All right. From wood, from hardness, from whatever to a leaf. And if you don't have some gratitude and some compassion and some allowance and some gratitude and some giving and some releasing and understanding that that transformation is supposed to happen, right? Then you're going to not bear the fruit. You're going to be like that stump because you're refusing the growth, the change, and the transformation that needs to happen. All right. So Erica said instant gratification, yes. And without going through the process, right. We got to go through the process, right? And so this project is really to help us to become compassionate and understand that there will be a time where I'm turning from a trunk from a branch, from a trunk to from roots to a branch, from roots to a trunk, from trunk to branches, where I'm kind of reaching out, I'm expanding my territory, right? We just want the apple. We just want the apple, but it's going to be a time where we need to go from these roots to a trunk, from a trunk to branching out, right? To expanding, right? And remember, we talked about that fear of expansion, but you're going to have to expand, right? And then you're going to turn into something totally different, right? And this is where people start to say, you don't act the same. Well, I'm not supposed to, because I'm at the verge of what? Bearing my fruit. This is the next stage of me getting the thing that I want, right? This is the seed that was planted in me. And guess what? No seed looked like the fruit it bear. And so us looking for, just say like happiness, you're looking for happiness. Happiness is a consequence of some things. You're looking for peace. Peace doesn't look like peace. Peace is the consequence of what? Of discipline, of knowing your values, of letting your yes be yes, right? So then I feel at peace because I've done some things, all right? Because no apple looks like the seed it bears, okay? You show me a fruit or a flower that looks like its seed. It doesn't, right? And the things that we want, we need to stop holding on to the image of what we think is going to look like. Because a lot of us haven't even met the harvest, haven't even gotten to the harvest to even know what that's going to look like, what we're going to look like. And we're holding ourselves back and we're judging ourselves harshly and we're getting in our own way. And we really have to move, right? Right. And so today, our title is Stop Judging Your Habits and Start Really Listening to Them. And if you saw the thumbnail, it was like your habits may be lying to you. All right. Right. So what's some of these habits? Constantly working, right? And what it pretends to do is, the pretending is like I'm productive, right? What it might be hiding is that I'm afraid of feeling unworthy without results. All right. So the habit is I'm constantly working, pretending like I'm being productive when I'm really afraid of unworthiness. All right. Or what I'm producing. All right. Because a lot of us is staying busy. I'm hiring for a position. I'm telling you guys this. But one of the things I tell people is like I'm moving from a business to an organization. In my mind, that works because business to me, the first part of it is busy, right? And I'm trying to move from being busy to what? Organized. All right. So I'm restructuring the business from a business to an organization so I can be organized. How do we do that? Creating systems, putting things in place that I don't have to do those things. And when I work with entrepreneurs, that's the first thing I do. All right, let's shift to an organization. Let's get organized. What tools are you using and things like that? All right. Another habit is overeating and snacking, right? And what is it? What is the belief? I deserve this, right? But really, the wound that it might be hiding is soothing. It may be soothing a wound that you haven't named yet. So you munching and snacking and overeating as a coping mechanism, right? And it's like, well, what is that telling you when you snacking at 4 a.m? Or when you snacking and you really not hungry? What is this emotion? And it's okay. Let's be gentle with it. All right. Over strolling. Again, you may pretend like this is a way that you need a break, but really it's avoiding something uncomfortable. Maybe you don't want to wash them dishes. Maybe you want to go downstairs and fold them clothes. Maybe you don't want to have a conversation with somebody. So you just grab your phone. Okay. And saying yes to everything, pretending like it's helpful and it's really not. It's really just you're probably scared, disappointed. You're scared of disappointment or rejection. All right. All right. So here's the shift. I'm grateful for my habits that have helped me survive, but I choose habits now that help me to what? Expand. All right. To expand. Okay. So here's a real life example. Okay, so on Tuesday's lesson, we talked about overgiving as a form of self abandonment. And one of the ladies from Project Life shared that she used to clean and stroll obsessively every time she felt overwhelmed, right? She called herself lazy and undisciplined. But when she unpacked it, guess what she realized? She realized that these behaviors started during childhood when she felt unsafe to express her emotions, right? So her body learned what? Distraction is safer than expressing herself, right? And I thought that was just a right. So distraction was safer than expressing herself because when she started to express herself as a kid, it was unsafe. She got in trouble, right? And again, expression could be I'm crying because this hurt, right? I fail, I'm hungry, whatever the expression is, got met with some form of rejection. So I'm going to distract myself. And that behavior became a part of her as an adult. All right. So let's pause and do a heart check in. All right. What's one habit that you keep? What's one habit that you keep beating yourself up for, but might be, but it might be asking, it might be actually a coping mechanism. All right. So let's pause and ask ourselves that. Like, what's one habit that you keep beating yourself up about? But again, it may be a protective mechanism. I want you to know a couple of things. All right. Again, your nervous system is always listening. All right. That reticular activation system, even when your mind says, I want to change, your body may still feel unsafe during this. Right. All right. All right. So change requires emotional safety, not just motivation. All right. So when we talk about changing these habits, first we make our habits and our habits make us. Then we also need to know that we're going to be challenging our nervous system. Right. And so you need a little bit more to motivation. All right. Number two is that the patterns are not um personal failures, right? They're programmed. Like I said, uh you have been patterning. You're not broken. You have been patterning. You were built for this. You were built this way. All right. So you didn't choose to avoid, overfunction, or shrink on purpose. All right. Awareness without application still equals stagnation. Again, I think that we can become aware of a thing, but we don't put the strategy in place, right? So many people are stay in instant addiction, right? Constantly learning, but really never applying what they learn. Listen, don't just process, practice. All right. Practice what you've learned, apply it, right? And again, it's just rewiring that, knowing that the brain is gonna be like, wait, is this real? Like, do we really want this? It's gonna question it because it's new. All right. Another thing I want you to know is that self-compassion is not optional. It's fun, it's fundamental. All right. It's a fundamental part of your growth. Listen, you cannot shame yourself into growth, not at this big age of 30, 40, 50. All right. You must learn how to observe without judgment. All right. Because when you judge it, you're actually imprinting it more, right? And the body is holding on to it more because you're saying it's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe. And I know that that seems weird because you would think that the body would know, but guess what? Your body is unconditional. It's not sophisticated like you, right? It's not um like perceptive and dissecting. It's like you talking about and this is why it's so important. I tell people, stop talking about what you don't want, right? Because the body doesn't unhear what you don't want. It just hears what you're talking about. And so it's just going to continue to show you that, or I'm going to say this, your nervous system, your reticular activation system, this law of attraction, right? You're saying, I don't want to, I don't want to be arguing. I don't want this. I don't want that. The very thing that you don't want, you end up getting because you're actually sending message to the brain to show me more arguments. I want to experience more arguments, even though your language is saying I don't want to. Right. So you need to get clear about what you do want. All right. You can be empowered and still need support. This is a huge one, right? This next journey of your life, you may need some support. You may have to reach out, get some help. All right. Get a coach, get a therapist, right, to really help you, right? Independence is a trauma response for so many people. I'm going to do it on my own, right? I don't need anyone help. I didn't got this far by myself. I can go, no, I can go further. Nope, what got you here won't take you there. All right, real transformation happens in co-regulation, right? Other people helping you to regulate your emotions, safe communities, mentorships, and mirror growth, right? You don't have to do this alone. And I know that this impresses on our trust issues. It impresses on a lot of things that don't feel comfortable. But, you know, even the Bible says where two or more are together. Okay. All right. You can't change what you pretend not to see. All right. So some people protect toxic patterns because they're familiar. Listen, name me your habit without sugarcoating it. Listen, I procrastinate when I'm for example, I procrastinate when I feel afraid of failing. It really is the next step to freedom. I know that a lot of my friends and family, they just think like, oh, you just, so honest by thought. But no, like you judging what I'm doing, but I'm actually rewiring my nervous system, right? So I'm gonna be honest about this flaw, right? And I may feel some judgment or whatever that comes up, but I understand that, you know what, I'm gonna have some compassion. Listen, I procrastinate when I feel like I'm failing. I'm gonna be honest about some things because I know that this honesty, what is gonna set me free. All right. Because you can't change what you pretend to not see. And I want to see all of me. And guess what? If I want, and I encourage my clients to do this too. If you want to be accepted and loved for all of who you are, then you need to start practicing accepting and loving all of who you are with the understanding that you're not perfect and you don't know everything and you done made mistakes, right? And so you can love on all of you. You don't have to hide, right? If it's physical attribute, if it's, emotional, right? The more you start to love that thing about you, good, bad, or indifferent, and accept it, right? Then the more you will see other people having grace for it. But if you got no grace and no love and compassion for it, right? But your deepest desire is for somebody to come and love all of you, right? You model that. That's something that you model, and that's a learned behavior. All right. All right. Again, so you can't change what you pretend not to see. And then this is the last one. You have to leave the identity that matches the pattern. All right. You have to be willing to leave the identity that matches the pattern. Listen, transformation really requires you to outgrow not just the behavior, all right, but the identity that justified the behavior. I'm going to say that again. Transformation requires you to outgrow not just the behavior, but the identity that justified the behavior. That might mean, shedding some old relationships and some relationship dynamics. It may mean changing some roles. It may mean changing some routines that no longer fit who you are becoming, right? Right. And that's the part that we don't want to do. That's the part we don't want to do. Um, yeah, because we're so community. Even though we say we don't trust people and we don't, no new friends, and we still have this community type of nature about us, and we want people to come with us, right? We want people to share this experience with us, or we want to feel validated by people. All right. But listen, you have to learn to leave the identity that matches the pattern. Okay. All right, listen, habits like strolling, overcommitting, and eating, and emotional eating, there aren't flaws, you guys. Again, they're just signals. All right. And when we listen to those signs with curiosity instead of shame, guess what? We start to unlock the healing process. All right. So these patterns that affect your energy, okay, your peace and your progress, these patterns affect your energy, your peace, and your progress, right? They also impact your sense of identity, right? Keeping you tied to past versions of you, instead of really the person you're becoming. I hear so many of my clients talk about, I just want to get back to when. I just want to go back to when. And it's like, well, one, we never going to go back to when, right? Because you've experienced too much to go back, right? But what we can do is we can move the thing that stunted your growth when you got stunted. We can go there, right? And we can unpack that so that your growth can continue, right? Right. And using this experience as a part of your growth and having some compassion for this detour, right? And how can we do that, right? How can we have some compassion and some gratitude? And I know it's just so challenging because people really do be, what do they say? Playing in your face, and things really do happen that make you just be like, you know what? I just need to cut people off, right? But a lot of times those things are also there as flags, as saying like, hey, you planted a seed. For this seed to take full blossom, for you to get this apple, right? You need to develop this thing. And so I'm going to continue to send you these type of people or these type of situations until you can receive it, because in the receiving of it and the reception of it and the allowing of it is where you're going to be transformed. Now, you in that process, you may be transformed from roots to trunks. You may be transferred from trunks to branches. You may be transferred from branches to leaves. You may be transferred from the leaf to the flower, right? We don't know exactly where you at in your progression, but trust and believe that this thing that you're holding on to that just irks you and irks you and irks you could be a sign that's saying, hey, let it, allow that person to be that way, right? And then work on your emotions about it so that you can transform into the next stage of your life. All right, if that makes sense, put a heart in the chat. All right, listen, a client of mine, right, realized that her binge watching habits was a way to feel in control. All right, when she felt what? Chaotic. All right, when life just got chaotic. And I'm gonna ask you guys this: when life gets too much to handle, what's your go-to series? Me, Scandal. When life started pushing on me and I started to feel like a little disempowered or a little out of control, oh, I'm throwing on Olivia Pope, right? That is the way that I'm going to get into get into control, right? So a client, she binge watched, and her habit, and this was her way of feeling in control, right? When she felt chaotic. And once she saw it for what it was a coping skill. Guess what? She was able to what? Build new rituals that actually gave her peace. Right? Right? And you can do it too. Right? When I learned that Olivia Pope was my go-to, oh, okay, Sheila, what you stressing about? You need to get a session. Right. When I'm like, oh, I need to watch Scandal. Ain't nothing on here. Like, let me watch Scandal, because it was the message that Scandal sent me, right? That I was powerful, that things can happen, right? Even in this chaos and this all of this unhealthy dynamic, right? There was still a meaning and purpose, right? Right. Which is what I feel like my life stands for. So it's instead of getting indulged in scandal, right? Talk about that. Get you a coach, Sheila. Get you a thought partner. So along with my last binge on Scandal was when I got a thought partner. Right. And I'm encouraging you to do the same. All right. Listen, neuroscience shows that habits, all right, habits are automatic by the brain. I mean, neuroscience shows that our habits are automated by the brain to reduce effort. All right. But emotional habits like people pleasing and avoidance are often rooted in trauma and can be rewired through intentional practice of safety. Let me read that again. All right. So neuroscience shows that our habits are automated by the brain to reduce effort. Remember, I told you that the GPS of our mind is trying to figure out the fastest way to get there, right? With the least pain. And where am I trying to get to safety? All right. So this is what this neuroscience is showing, that the habits are automatic ways for the brain to reduce what effort. So when the brain is patterned, right? When you build a habit, it's kind of like now your brain don't have to use energy, right? Because you've done this thing enough, and now you can just do it unconsciously, like walking through your house, cutting on every light and not thinking about it. Or when you're driving home, you meant to go to the grocery store, but you end up at in your driveway because your mind just automatically took you home. And because you was on autopilot, you wasn't thinking like, oh, you know what? I meant to go to the grocery store. So you did every turn by habit, all right? Or unconsciously. All right. Listen, um, again, but emotional habits like people pleasing and avoidance are really rooted in trauma, and those can be rewired. All right. Okay. Your habits are trying to help, but you can decide. I mean, your habits are trying to help, but you get to decide what they get to help with now. That's the power that you have. All right. We know that the P in Stop It Now stands for patterns and paradigms. So I do want to go over some essential patterns and paradigms, right? Some truths like habits are messages, they're not mistakes. I said this earlier, right? So most behaviors aren't random, they're responses, all right? So that procrastination and perfectionism, it isn't laziness, you guys. The reason I did the dissertation was because I really wanted people to understand that procrastination, one, is not a time management issue. It's an emotional issue, right? It's a coping skill, right? And this coping skill is not, it's not that you're lazy. It's actually protecting you from feeling. All right. So it's protecting you for something that you haven't healed. All right. Number two, your patterns were once survival strategies, right? What kept you safe in one season, like people pleasing or staying invisible, guess what? Might now be the very thing that's keeping you stuck. And be open to that, right? Be open to that possibility that, you know what, this worked for me. Maybe in my last relationship, this worked for me in my job, right? This worked for me before, but now I need something different. Maybe this worked for me when I was in my roots, but now I'm a trunk now and I need something different, right? I've outgrown that. And this is where we give ourselves permission to grow and need something different. All right. Paradigm shape what you think is possible. All right. So again, the lens that you see the world through, right? Remember, I talk about those four paradigms: victim, duty, achievement, and what integrity. And if you want information about that emotional intelligence course, put EI in the comments and I can send you a link so that you can purchase it. All right. If you believe, okay, so paradigms shape what you think is possible. So if you believe life is hard, guess what? It's hard. And if you believe I'm only valuable when I'm useful, guess what? That's the only place you're gonna see your value. All right. Your actions will mirror that, okay? No matter what your goals are. And so we have to get down deep to the paradigms, to our core beliefs, to our understanding, and one where we got that from and be willing to change it. Okay. Patterns repeat, okay, until they're interrupted. Okay. Patterns repeat until they're interrupted. All right. Um, got it out of here. I don't know how I got in here. Okay, so patterns repeat until they're interrupted. Okay, change doesn't happen with willpower alone. All right, you need awareness, and then you need new rituals. And remember, I talked about this word ritual, right? You need new rituals that align with your present identity, not your past pain. All right. All right. So patterns repeat until they're interrupted. So changes doesn't happen just with willpower alone. Again, you need awareness and then you need new rituals. And remember, ritual is your reason why. It's the reason why you're doing the thing that you're doing. All right. All right. Listen, shame keeps patterns hid. You'll hear me say this every week. We got to stop hiding. When you shame your habits, you bury them deeper, right? It's kind of like that. I was telling you about um, the Chinese handcuffs, right? The more you resist, the more they hold on, right? So when you shame something, right, the deeper you bury it. All right. So we want to give it grace. We want to give it forgiveness. We want to give that to it so we can release the chains that we have on ourselves. All right. All right. Um, so when you shame habits, you bury them deeper. But when you approach them with compassion and curiosity, right, you unlock your power to really transform them. All right. If that makes sense, put an 8 in the chat for me. All right. Listen, busy is not always better. This is a something I had to learn. This is something I had to teach my clients. Right. Busy is not always better. Overscheduling and staying booked and busy can be socially acceptable. All right. Um, but it also can be a form of numbing. So pause and ask, what am I trying to avoid by staying busy? All right, that is what this whole week is about. Know that gratitude is a bridge, not a barrier. You can be grateful and still desire more. Again, that's one of the things that I'm say over and over. You can be grateful and still want more for your life. You can be grateful for what you have and still want more for your life. The apple, the journey of the apple seed, the apple is grateful for the trunk, but it realized that it has 100 apples to bear. It still wants that. It still wants to journey into what it will become. All right. All right. So we can be grateful and still desire more for ourselves. All right. Real gratitude says, thanks for helping me survive, but I'm choosing to grow now. All right. Thank you. Thank you for getting me here, but I'm gonna get off and get on to the next train. And I got this analogy that I talk about in dating, right? Like in dating, I feel like that my station is to get married. So if that's station 10, right? And I'm on a train and I get on a train with somebody. Listen, my station is 10 to get married. But when you show me that, you 3 or 4, I don't gotta judge you for the 3 or 4. Just know that you getting off on 3, but I'm still staying on this train because I'm going to 10. Don't think I'm getting off with you, right? Because only you want to stop at 10. You want to stop at 4. My goal is to get to 10, to be married, right? To have a healthy, flourishing relationship. If that's not what you want, I don't have to judge you for that. But we're gonna stop the train right here. We can have our fun at 4, right? And then you can get off. And don't be mad at me when I keep going. And so many people get mad, right? Like it's like, but I thought your limitation ain't my limitation, but I can respect your limitation, right? I can respect the fact that you don't like to communicate. I can expect the fact that you don't want to be emotional about. I don't have to judge you and get mad and argue with you about that, right? But know that that's what I desire in my life. So we gonna stop. You can get off, and I'm gonna keep going. I may even stay here and entertain you for a minute, But no, I'm getting back on this train when they say all aboard. You stand, and I'm getting back on this train because my road is to what 10. And I have defined what that looked like. And thank you, because maybe you're the person that got me from, 2 to 4, or maybe from 4 to 6, right? Right. Yeah. You helped me to grow and to expand a little bit. But if you ain't trying to get to 10, don't think I'm getting off at 6 with you. And a lot of us do that in our friendships, we do that in our careers, right? We settle, we need to define what 10 looks like, or what this desire, this vision for our life is, and understand that it's people that's going to come, right, and they're not going to take you all the way there, right? And it's okay to let them off where they are, and you don't got to judge them as being bad or anything. Okay. All right. So gratitude is a bridge, not a barrier. You can be grateful and still desire more. Real gratitude said, thank you for helping me survive, but I'm choosing to grow different. Patterns can be inherited, right? Many of your habits are internal script. internal scripts, and internal scripts were not chosen by you. All right. They were modeled, they were conditioned, and they were inherited. All right. All right. You're allowed to question and release them. All right. You're allowed to question and release them. It's coming in my spirit to go back to the gratitude is a bridge and not a barrier. I think that's this important to your growth and our growth. I think that we feel like it reminds me of that saying that, you know, you can see a bum on the street and you don't want to hear what that bum has to say, but you probably need to listen to the bum so you won't become a bum. A lot of times I think that when we could get, I'm saying that to say that a lot of times I think that we can, if it's our relationships with our friends and things like that, like we can judge people so harshly that we don't get the lesson. And in that judging them, we end up stopping our growth because it's as if we're getting off, right? We're stuck where they're at. And you know how I know you're stuck? Because you can't stop talking about that, right? This person hurt me, this person lied to me, this person did this. Okay, that person was probably a 6 and you a 10. All right. That person was probably a turtle and you're a giraffe. Your line of sight is different, right? That don't make them bad. All right, lead them where they at, get back on your train, right? And get to moving with gratitude. Thank you, right? Thank you for showing me that we're different, that we're not built the same, right? Thank you for showing me that I am very much unique, right? And this could be in your job, this could be with your friends, your family, or whatever, right? But we end up being stuck because we judge that person. And remember, the thing we resist, we end up staying at. And so we continue to meet people like that because that's what we start to talk about. All right. So paradigm shift requires new environments. All right. So you can't change your mindset in the space that created it. All right. I always say that you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem, right? You have to shift your paradigm. You have to be willing to see your life and your situations different. And in this case, paradigm shifts require new environments. So you can't always change your mindset in the same space that created it. This means that you need new people, you need new perspectives. All right. Sometimes you need new spaces, new support, and new language, what to evolve. And last but not least, awareness, you guys, is the first step, but it's not the last. All right. It's the first step. It's not the last. So knowing your patterns is powerful. Okay. It is powerful, but rewiring those patterns, that's intentional. That's repeating actions. That's boring. That's mundane, right? And grace, and that's giving a whole lot of grace when you fall back into these old loops. You know, I used to write this thing where I would tell people, you know, if you're in a circle and you're in a pattern, know that, you know, you may choose to go left over here, but you're still going to come back into this pattern. So, you know, when you come back in and you know, start to do some things that you said that you wasn't going to do because you changed, know that that's a part of life too. You're always unfolding over yourself. All right. And so we need to have some grace and some compassion when we fall back into these old loops. If that makes sense for the heart in the chat, right? So awareness is the first step, but it's not the last. I sent out a Facebook post yesterday to my friends and family because it talked about, you know, the reason this guy said the reason I ain't losing weight is because losing weight is boring, right? He said a lot of other stuff, you know, but he said losing weight is boring. And it made me think like he was like, because it takes consistency, right? Like you gotta be, you know, eating the same uh chicken, chicken breast, salad, this rice, like you meal prepping, right? Right. And you have to be consistent in that. And that could be boring because your mind is like, what do I want to eat today? Lasagna or, these new things that you want to bring into your body that's really triggering your body off of this diet, right? But the meal prep and the giving your body, you know, a chicken breast or chicken thigh or whatever your meal prep is the consistency that your body needs to know and feel safe enough to release the weight, right? And I thought that was so powerful because when we start thinking about life, right, we want this unfamiliar, this I don't know, this adventure, right? But real success happens, you guys, It happens in the boring, right? I get up every morning and I come do a life lesson. I'm not saying it's boring, but I'm saying like to do that over and over and over again, right? And to follow the same script, do your introduction, do this, do that, do this, do this. And I sometimes want to do something different, but it's like, no, get used to the building this structure, right? Because this is what's going to, you know, talk to the algorithm. This is what the people who are listening to you, this is what they're expecting, right? And that is the safety. Okay. And again, just learning how to be consistent and do things consistently, whether it's in your diet, whether it's in your relationship or whatever, is going to tell the nervous system that you're safe. All right. Biblical wisdom. We got a couple of minutes to go through this. All right. Listen, Romans 12:2. All right. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Listen, meaning that this verse tells us clearly transformation starts with your patterns. Don't settle for what the world says. Don't settle for the world's way of surviving. Renewal is about choice, all right, and not shame. And when we talk about, I always talk about this verse when I bring it up: do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I talk about, we think that this conforming to the patterns of the world is what? This outside world, right? But it's the world that what? This the world in you that has been patterned by what? By your environment, by your culture, by, your parents, right? So you have a world in you, right, that has been parent. So has been patterned. So do not conform to that world that was given to you, right? Maybe it's your version of you or beliefs about you. Maybe it's habits that, you either caught or you taught yourself, right? Do not conform to the patterns, but be ye transformed by the what? By the renewing of your mind. All right. By the insight, the downloads that your mind is giving you. All right. All right, listen, this verse speaks directly to pattern interruption. Many of our habits, like people pleasing, avoidance, and procrastination, those are, guess what? Patterns of this world, meaning that they were shaped by societal pressures, right? Survival conditions and past pain. All right. But this verse empowers us to what? Renew our minds, to create what? New neutral pathways and new choices. All right. So instead of saying, this is just the way I am, you can say, that's who I had to be, but now I'm choosing to be something different. I used to act like that, but now I act a little different, right? I can give her homage or him homage, right? I don't have to shame her or him, right? Yep, that brought me here, but I don't need to do that no more. Actually, I'm changing. And then if a person doesn't respect that, that's more about them than it is about you. All right. All right, listen, you don't have to keep rehearsing habits that keep you safe in old seasons, that kept you safe in old seasons. You can transform, right, by being aware of your thoughts and choosing alignment over autopilot, or choosing what I need right now in this moment, my present moment, becoming a driver, okay, over autopilot. That makes sense. Put her in the chat for me. All right, so our promise verse, Isaiah 43:19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it sprung up. Do you not perceive it? All right. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it sprung up. Do you not perceive it? Listen, you are not trapped in old cycles. Something is already rising up in you, but you must perceive it to receive it. All right. I talked about this journey of the apple seed. All right. And that apple seed does a new thing. All right. It does a new thing when it goes from roots to trunk. Does a new thing when it goes from trunks to branches. It does a new thing when it goes from branches to smaller branches, right? It even does a new thing every season when what? When it drops its apples and it starts to grow new apples. All right. All right. And this is how you know that you're truly like mature. And I always talk about the last part of this apple, this journey of the apple seed, is once the apple come, it's so many apples. You got it to give. You giving it, right? You don't need none back. That's your overflow, right? You done matured so much in that area that it's like you can have that. Oh, I got more of that. And we want to get to that place in our love. We want to get to that place in our forgiveness. We want to get to that place in our compassion. I got so much of this. you can have it. And I don't need nothing back, right? I don't need nothing back, right? In the sense that I'm saying it, that it's not a hook on it. Like I'm not giving this to you so that you can see me away. I'm an apple tree, right? You can tell by the fruit I bear, and I have these apples to give. And guess what? There will be a season where I won't have them to give, right? And then I have to know that in the season that I don't have this emotion to give, that I don't have this compassion to give, that it's a season, okay? And that there will be another season where I can give it again. All right. And that's okay. And that's the part that I feel like you can't be on all the time. Even apple trees take breaks, right? So we have to be mindful of like, okay, is this my season of giving, or is this my season of winter, of heart of preservation? All right. Right. I just don't have it to give, and giving ourselves grace for that. All right. So back to this verse. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Listen, God is always inviting us into newness, all right? Not just in what we do, but in how we see. All right, and how we see. And this verse really asks a powerful question. Do you not perceive it? Do you not perceive the new thing that's happening in you? Do you not see it? Do you not see the shifts and the turns? And I want you to listen to that voice that's coming up in you when I ask that. Do you not perceive it? Do you not perceive the change? Right? Let's recognize it. Let's hold on to that. All right. All right. So this verse really asks this powerful question. Do you not perceive it? And it challenges us to notice that change has already started. All right. The change you seeking is already started. You just got to sometimes catch up with it, right? And that's the new thing that is rising, all right? But old habits can block us, okay, from seeing and receiving it, all right? So take a moment and ask yourself, do I perceive it? Do I not perceive this new thing that may be already happening in me that I need to catch up to, which is why I'm frustrated and got an attitude, because my body is telling me I need something different. Life is calling me to do something different. I'm trying to hold on to these old patterns, these old beliefs, and they ain't working. And I'm frustrated and I'm overwhelmed and I'm annoyed and I don't have the energy when truthfully it's just this new thing is happening in me. I've changed from roots to trunk. I probably changed from trunks to branches, right? The transformation has happened and I ain't even aware of it because I'm stuck in these old habits. Listen, this directly ties into today's focus. Old habits can blind us from new opportunities, okay? So we say we want more, but our patterns keep us paused, all right? It keep us in pause. So we pray for breakthroughs, but guess what? Our beliefs rehearse burnout. All right. All right. So the new you already exists. All right. The new you already exists. But when you you have to shift into a perspective, right? And really release the habits that make you question your worth, questioning your readiness, questioning your worthiness, and questioning your identity. All right. All right. Listen, my thoughts about this is that both verses make the spiritual deeply personal, right? Make this divine gift deeply personal, right? They are not abstract comments or like challenging comments from this, again, this distant God, this God in the sky, right? They are living truths, all right, that reflect the God that dwells in us and the part of us that's calling to grow, to be higher, and to evolve. So this session is truly about claiming your right to transform, all right? This whole session was truly about claiming your right to transform, all right? You are not your habits, one. You are not your hustle, okay, two, and you are not your hiding, all right? You are the new thing that is being made on this day, all right? And your job is to perceive that, is to believe that, and is to have the courage to walk in it, all right? And so how do we put that into action on this morning? All right, if you felt that, put a heart in the chat for me, all right? Good morning, big brother, big little brother. Good morning, big little brother. I love you. All All right. All right. So how do we put that into practice this morning? These are some action steps. Okay. I want you to write down one habit you want to shift. Now I want you to ask, what was this habit protecting me from? All right. And then create a replacement ritual with compassion. All right. Rooted in compassion. And if you need a journal prompt, then here's your journal prompt. What habit am I ready to release? And what truth will I build in its place? All right. Our affirmation on this morning is I release the lie that I must stay small to stay safe. I choose patterns that match what my power. All right. And then our intention for today. Today I choose to align. I choose alignment over autopilot. Okay. I choose alignment over autopilot. And then your bonus for the next 24 hours. Notice every time your go-to habit shows up, right? And instead of reacting, just pause, okay? And respond with truth. You already know I'm gonna do that call, that challenge, and that charge. So I'm calling and I'm asking you on this morning, on this gratitude shift Wednesday, what's one habit you're ready to reframe? And then the challenge that I'm posing for you today is, are you willing to pause and ask, what is this pattern protecting? And then a simple charge on this morning is to go shape your life, right? Your love of self, your interactions with others, your focus in your emotions. Listen, if this session gave you clarity and conviction, right? And you're walking away with some insight on this morning, make sure you drop a fire in the chat, right? Let's celebrate our growth together, you guys, together. All right. You can remember this, that if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. Know that the project life is still open. Okay. Project life is still open. You can even just get the portal, right, where you get the School of Life portal, the weekly coaching labs, the real time accountability, theme growth workbooks, weekly check-ins, and processing and healing space. All right. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel. All right. Um, at I Am Shaping Solutions, and then join the Elevating Life group. You can invite a friend. Just go right up to the top of the page, press invite, start clicking your friends, right? And sometimes it's people you may think will need it, but sometimes we don't know what people need. So just start clicking. Okay. Just start clicking away. All right. And remember, right? If you could shape it in your mind, you could have it in your life. Know this. Know that I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow when we start to talk about identity, right? Identity and self-talk. And we're talking about energy audit Thursday, right? When worthiness becomes a performance. All right. And here's a truth bomb for that session. You are not what you produce. You are what you are becoming. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I will see you tomorrow for that life lesson. All right. Till later.